Rice Fame Group supports the legacies of HBCUs. Hello, this is Lacey L. Rice Jr. of Rice Fame Group, welcoming you to chat with HBCU Champions, Season 4, featuring head coach Alan Johnson from North Carolina A&T, whose men's indoor and outdoor track and field teams won the Coastal Athletic Association championships this year. So first of all, congratulations, Coach, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, pleasure having you. Especially considering who you are, and hopefully, if people don't know who you are right now, hopefully they will know by the end of this show, because not only are you a great, terrific coach, but you are also one of the GOATs in hurdling for the United States. You're actually one of the GOATs for hurdling worldwide, period. So
thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's where we're going to start today. We're gonna start talking about you, getting people to know you. So please tell us a bit about your career, and including as a competitor and as a coach.
Well, so you want to know about my athletic career first, correct?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I mean, basically in a nutshell, 110 hurdler. Had the opportunity to participate in 3 Olympic Games, 1996 in Atlanta, where I won, 2000 in Sydney, Australia, where I got 4th, and then Athens, Greece, and 2004, where fortunately I fell in the semifinal. But and then 4 World Championship title, 1995, 1997, 2001, 2003, 110 hurdles. So I mean, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the competition. I feel like I worked very, very hard, and I think the biggest thing is I did everything to realize my potential. That's one of the things that I impart on the athletes that I coach. So did the professional thing for about 17 years, that transitioned into college coaching. I started out at the Air Force Academy out in Colorado Springs. Then I went to University of Kentucky, where we first met at a coaching clinic at North Carolina State University, and then here at North Carolina A&T State University. So all my previous roles were assistant coaches, being an assistant coach, and now my first chance of becoming the head coach. It's different, a lot more responsibility. It's about looking at the entire program and just the events that I directly coach. But it's fun. I approach coaching the same way that I approach competing, and that is I do everything I can to just realize my potential. The thing is, now that I'm a coach dealing with young people, is try to impart whatever wisdom I can to them, and also learning from them. This thing is it ebbs and it flows. I get the opportunity to work with a lot of different people from different backgrounds, different walks of life. So it's a very fulfilling and rewarding experience to be able to work with young people. Like I say, I actually learn a lot from them.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. And wow, 17 years as a pro, that's a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time, but I loved it. I mean, I loved every single moment of it, and a lot of times I sit back and I think about it now, and I think that if I could, I would go back right now and compete at 54 years old if my body was willing. But Father Time is undefeated.
Well, now, do you still hold world record on the masters level?
I believe that I do. I think I still have the Masters world record at 1296.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's another that was another sub 13.
Yeah, and it was actually my last one. It was number 11. Yep,
And you
it was in Athens, Greece, and it was just one of those days. Hit the gun perfectly, took off. When I crossed the finish line, I looked at the clock and I said, "Oh, 12 9." I knew that was going to happen. So,
well, you also held the record for most sub 13s for quite a while.
yeah. Grant Holloway just broke it last year. So so he has 12 and I have 11.
Like I said, that's why we have to put your name up there as one of the GOATs in the event, because that's a terrific feat. I mean, especially when you think of all the great hurdlers
Mm-hmm.
that have gone, through, especially through USATF. You actually have one on your coaching staff.
Yeah,
So,
James Trammell. Yeah, 2-time Olympic silver medalist. So that's how we do it here.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he's another friend of mine. So
Yeah.
I was happy when I saw that he was on your staff. He's done a lot to elevate hurdling here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and through the Maximum Velocity Track and Field Academy, and so and you did a lot when you were at the University of Kentucky too. That great staff that was there at Kentucky elevated the program, you know, especially on the women's side, into being a national power to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Coach Florial, he did a very, very good job with his women. I mean, he brought a lot of women, a lot of high caliber women who went on to do a lot of great things in the sport, Olympic Games, World Championship. Shoot, the last 2 Olympic champions. No, Jasmine Quinn, Kenny Harrison, Masai Russell came after him, but I think he started that legacy there. So, and working under him and kind of watching some of the things that he did there, I can't help. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't trying to do a lot of the things that here at A&T that he did there.
Well, I mean, there are not that many coaches to emulate. So emulating Coach Florial, that you can't go wrong there, because his track record speaks for itself.
Exactly.
In fact, a coach who I interviewed recently has one of the national champions, a jumps champion, but national champion on his staff. So, if they're not competing, I see a lot of them coaching. And
I think it's a natural progression once you get into the sport, and a lot of people that are in the sport, they're in it because they love it. And with the international competition, international travel, you learn a lot of things, and I think it just it's a natural progression to then go in and become a teacher, and become a coach, and impart the wisdom to the younger generation.
Right. So, did you start coaching like immediately after your career ended, or were you starting to coach or mentor people,
Sorry about
or, or had you started coaching and mentoring people as you got older?
So while I was competing, I was a volunteer assistant coach at the University of South Carolina, and I did a little bit. I was there with Coach Fry, um, where he won a national title as well.
Mm.
Um, I did a little bit, but then I retired in 2010, and after that, I was just kind of figuring some things out. I was living in Columbia, South Carolina, and there were a couple of people that had asked me to kind of help them out because they wanted to try to run. I I did that and I enjoyed it. And basically, I kind of got into coaching almost by mistake. I mean, a friend of a friend called and said, "Hey, there's an opening at the Air Force Academy. Would I be interested?" And the head coach at the time was Ralph Lindemann, and I had come across him uh, at various functions, events, conventions with the USA Track and Field. Um, I had remembered him, but they were just in passing. We kind of talked to each other, passing here and there,
Mm.
and I guess I left some kind of impression on him because I got the call, "Hey, there's an opening at the Air Force Academy. Would I be interested?" And I said, "Well, shoot, yeah." And went on the interview. Um, it went well, so he hired me, and that's where I got my start. And it was very, very exciting time for me. I mean, it was a new chapter because my whole life had been, from high school to college, straight to professional track and field.
Mhm.
Track and field was my focus, and now I'm 40. How old was I at the time? I was 40 years old, and
Mhm.
it's my first time having a real job. Uh, so obviously I accepted the job, headed out to Colorado Springs, and you know, looking back on it was a really, really awesome experience.
And I've always been told that that's a beautiful area out there.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, you get the snow-capped mountains all the way into like June.
Mhm.
There's just a lot of outdoor things to do there. It was fun.
Okay. Okay. And so now you're at North Carolina A&T,
Yeah,
um, and which have formerly been in the MEAC, but you're one of let me see, you're in the CAA and
yeah,
Hampton's in the CAA.
correct.
And so looking back over your career, and you've been at some powerful programs. How does the CAA competing there to CAA? I mean, no, it's not an SEC. We realize that, but how does it compare to some of the other experiences you've had?
I think the experiences are similar. It's interesting to say, hey, it's not the CA. I mean, it's not the SEC, but the CAA is a very, very competitive conference, and with the addition of us, and some other schools, there's anytime you have competition, you you have schools getting better and better athletes, which raises the level of competition, and and that's what's happening. That's what's happening here. I mean, our this conference in the CAA is our third year. Each year we have more and more athletes from this conference, going to the preliminary round of the NCAA championships and then the final site. I think that just kind of getting the pulse of the other coaches in the CAA. I think that's going to continue to rise in the coming years because everybody has to recruit better if you want to win. I mean, if you want to win this conference, you have to have a good team.
Mhm. Mhm. And speaking of team wise, I would say you won the men's indoor and men's outdoor championship.
Right.
So you
Right.
pulled that double off.
Yes.
So and we know that you've already retired from competing, so you're not out there getting those points. So tell us about some of those athletes that you have there.
There's so many. I mean, basically, this men's team I mean, we scored multiple places in s- the throws, the jumps, the sprints, middle distance. So, it was about recruiting and getting athletes here, in a variety of events. We're obviously we're known as a sprint school,
Mhm.
but the way this conference is, you can't do it in just one area. I mean, just being a sprint school in this conference, you can't win. So I mean, for example, we went 1-2 in the 800. We placed, we had Diamond Walker and Dawson Grove 1-2 in the 800.
Mhm.
I don't know when that's happened the last time. We went 1-2 in the men's triple jump. Tahid Bowie and man, I'm drawing a blank this morning. Xavier Partee. Xavier Partee, who's a walk on. That's a guy. That's a guy that. Um, I mean, it's actually an amazing story because first year here, he
Mhm.
came and asked to be a part of the team, and I told him, hey, well, no, I don't have room, but hey, if you need to go work out on your own. Uh, go get in some all comers meets, get your marks up, and I'll consider it.
Mhm.
And the summer between my first and second year, which was summer of 23, I saw him out here on the track. He was out there working out every day. I said, hey, yeah, come on. You know, just looking at his work ethic, I was like, you're the type of person that you're gonna get better.
Mhm.
And just if you do on the team what I see you doing on your own,
Mhm.
that's gonna rub off on some other people on the team. And those are the type of people that I want on my team. So long story short, um, he got on the team, got with Coach Hopkins, and he made to the NCAA championships this year as a sophomore.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Well, that is a great story.
yeah. I mean, so those are the types of things that those types of things. Those are the type of athletes. Those are the type of people that are on this team.
Mhm.
And it's guys like that. He inspired the other people to work hard.
And I'm a guy who, I'm a former coach, um, and decided to focus more on media.
Okay.
And so I used to, because I did have some experience, pretty much on various levels, middle school, high school,
Uh-huh.
collegiate, and club, and so I was able to give clinics on collegiate recruiting to high school coaches,
Okay.
because a lot of high school coaches have misperceptions of what it takes in order to get a scholarship at a program, much less even to be looked at. And you mentioned that young man, was a walk on. And I remember well, I'll just say it, when I was at University of Louisville, Terrence Williams taught me the different levels of funding athletes. We had various marks that you had to hit in
Exactly.
for University of Louisville to even consider it. And I did take that, even though Division III does not offer scholarships. I did take that concept with me when I coached at Spalding. But you know, they did have a category for walk-on, and this was before Coach Floriel. When I was at Spalding, I remember recruiting some kids because we were transitioning from NAIA over to Division III, so we were in the probationary period. But the head coach at the time, he wanted to be competitive immediately, so you know, he had to recruit, and we had already started school year, so the real recruiting window had already passed. But I was scrounging for whoever we can get. We need the head count. So I called around. Yeah, it was crazy because I called around to some kids who were top. They were top kids in Kentucky at that time. Kentucky has greatly improved since then, but these kids were top kids in Kentucky at that time. You know, and they were running. They had scored at state, running like 11:01 in the 100, 11.1 in the 100. But it's like since we were doing head count, you know, it's like, hey, you're welcome to join our squad. You know, we just got to make sure your academics are in place so that you don't have to pay, or you don't have to pay as much. And I mean, honestly, a lot of these kids, a lot of those kids at the time told me, well, you know, thank you for the offer, but I'm going to try to walk on at University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
And you know, I didn't want to dash the kids' dreams. I'm like, you run 11:01 and 100. The Kentucky competes in the SEC. So the first thing I would always ask them, did you talk to the coach?
And they hadn't talked to the coach.
No.
Yeah, no, I can. Yeah.
And you know who the coach was at that time, because he was Coach Floriel's predecessor. Yeah. And, you know, they 11:01 and no, that no.
Yeah. I mean, the one when it comes to the recruiting process, the one thing I try to get parents and athletes to understand is, you know, where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to go? Where do you fit in from a result standpoint? I mean, obviously there has to be a fit socially, emotionally, academically, all that stuff. But then when you're talking about the athletic aspect,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you have to look at the conference standing. And the one thing I always say is, okay, can you score in the conference? That's the first thing. Can you score in the conference?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe you have the potential to score in the conference by your sophomore, junior year? You know, different conferences are at different levels as far as what it takes to score.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, can you get to the preliminary rounds of the NCAA championships? Can you get to the NCAA championship? Can you score at the NCAA championship? So, that's the thing I try to let people know. You know, like for example, use the example of, you know, if a male sprinter is running 11:01, then, you know, how do you politely say without offending someone that that's not going to make it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then it's another metric that I use. Well, not I don't necessarily use it because some people may be offended by it, but it's if you're a male, based on your times, are you better than the best female in your event in the world? I mean, some events, maybe that's not the case. I mean, you take the like women's 400-meter hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you're in high school and you run 50.6, you run pretty fast. 50.5, whatever Sydney runs. But you know, that's the anomaly. But generally speaking,
Right.
as a high schooler, you got to be able to compete with the best.
Mm-hmm.
Best. Can you score in your conference?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of conferences now Men's 100 is going to be, you got to run 10.5, 10.6 at least to get 8. And it goes up from there. I mean, some you run 10.2, it's try harder next time. So.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy, when I think about some of the things that, some of the stories, and actually even some of the experience I've had with coaches. I had
Mhm.
our my head coach on the collegiate level. One of my head coaches was telling me a story of a high school coach approaching him about recruiting his athlete because she hadn't gotten any offers, not from anybody major. And so when and the high school coach was telling the coach, yeah, she won regions like 5 years in a row. She's gone to state, and she placed this at state and this at the other. And the coach asked, well, what's her PR? I think it was like a 61, 62 and a 400.
Yeah.
And the coach, coach said he had to tell that coach, we're bringing in girls running 52.
Well, that's a big gap. And it's how do you, because everybody takes things differently,
Mm-hmm.
and it's how you tell somebody, hey, you know what? Well, I guess you just have to tell them, hey, that doesn't meet our standard, and just leave it at that. And then that way, it's. I mean, I think that's one of the good reasons to have the standard. So there's a time, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like academically, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can't go to MIT and you got a 2.1 GPA. You know, you just can't. And your math, you have C's in math and science.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go. So that's how it is. I mean, and the way some of these high school athletes are performing today, the bar is going up and up and up and up.
Yes.
I mean, it's the times are coming down.
Right.
So, I mean, I even saw, it was a few years ago, I saw, it was an article or something where it said basically it was telling parents, it's like basically if your child cannot compete as they're coming up, if your child cannot compete in an age group up,
Mm-hmm.
then they're probably not a Division I athlete. So if they're in the 13, 14, they can't compete 15, 16, 15, 16, not being able to compete.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it goes back to what I said before. Based on your high school performances, can you score in my conference meet? So again, you're competing level up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like you said, that is hard for some people to comprehend. I mean,
Yeah.
even coaches, because I've had that argument with well, I'm in Louisville, and Louisville's not recruiting my kid, and University of Kentucky's not recruiting my kid, and they're running this and they're running that, and I'm like, okay, but did you even look at the times that they're running in the SEC or the ACC? And that because, and I think a lot of maybe, and I could be wrong, but I think maybe a lot of high school coaches don't really realize, for coaches like yourself and other collegiate coaches, that's your livelihood.
Exactly.
You,
I mean,
you
that's another conversation.
yeah.
It's sometimes unfortunately you get it more from the local coaches, and it's
Mm-hmm.
hey, this kid is local, why aren't you recruiting them? And it's okay. Anybody that has the marks, again, outside of academics, social fit, and all that good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's I'm here at A&T, we're competing against the best people in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to a talent perspective, I need some of the best talent in the nation. so that I can compete. Because that's what the goal is here. That's what the expectation is here. Is that we're going to be in the mix at the national level.
Mhm.
We're going to win our conference. We're going to be in the mix
Mhm.
at the
Mhm.
so
And so that, like I said, hopefully, I'm hoping that some coaches will actually look at this. I know I'll be sharing it with certain people, most
right,
definitely, targeting certain people. But I'm hoping that some coaches listen to this, and so that they don't make some of these mistakes of approaching certain collegiate coaches, questioning why they're at. Because one of the things I always said too, and I did this as like I said, I was a sprints coach on the Division III level,
hmm
and the kids, I actually had levels of recruiting, not just the standards, but I had levels. The first kids I was recruiting were the top kids in the nation, not Kentucky, not the region, but the nation.
right,
The next tier was region. The last tier was Kentucky, especially at that time, because you didn't have kids running, you didn't have that many Kentucky kids running some of the fastest times in the country, which that's changed now.
right.
But that's how I was recruiting, and it was funny being at maximum velocity, track and field academy, and Terrence probably uh, vouched for this. We would always watch the NCAA's, and
Yeah.
and so there were a few times I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, hold up, I recruited that kid. I recruited
Yes.
that kid, and so just from that standpoint, what I always told a lot of people at these clinics, you need to find out where your athlete fits best, sort of like what you were talking about,
Yeah.
because it does not, everybody doesn't have to run at the Division I level.
Right.
You have great competitors at every level. And if you're fast, if you can jump, if you can throw, no matter what level you're on, somebody will find you. And
Yeah.
and Carmelita Jeter is a prime example of that. And she said that at the track and field academy. She told
Yeah.
those kids, I wanted to go D1, but because of circumstances, I couldn't go D1, so I went D2. And I became a world champion.
She sure did.
So,
I mean, and that's where I say it sometimes it's about fit. And I think you look at the transfer portal and you see some of the moves that are being made by athletes, and it's it got to be it got to be transactional,
mm-hmm,
too transactional. And when it's transactional, then that's what it is.
mm-hmm,
That fit, that relationship with the coach
mm-hmm.
may not be there the way it needs to be. Um, so I think if you look at some of the moves in the portal, you're starting to see people saying, "Hey, you know what? I thought this over here was for me because of stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And after they get the stuff, they're saying, "Hey, well, this wasn't necessarily the best uh, environment for me to be in to succeed." Not that that environment is bad, or not that someone else could succeed in that environment, but it's maybe not for you. So
Right.
now you're starting to see athletes say, "Hey, you know what? I need to go back to the roots per se, and then find that place that fits for me so that I can be successful, and not a place that's going to just give me shiny stuff." So, I mean, and I think that's the beauty, even here being at A&T, is that um, where we are,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be about the relationship, and it has to be about, hey, can we make you successful? You know, with that. And if it is, hey, let's come on, let's get this thing going, let's work, and let's find the success because with success, all that other stuff will happen. You cannot put the cart before the horse. You gotta come in. You gotta get that relationship, the hard work, the work ethic, have the success, and then take it from there. Take it where the success takes you.
Right. And North Carolina A&T is a prestigious school. You know, it's one of the institutions within the University of North Carolina system, which is one of the top systems in the country. You know, outside of maybe the Ivy League. You know, North Carolina just having its own brand of Ivy League right there. You know, it says a lot about that institution because of what it has produced. It's actually, as far as 4-year institutions, I believe it's the has the highest enrollment of all HBCU.
That's correct.
And so, you know, I've had I'm a Kentucky State University alum, and I've actually had some of our alums who have sent their kids to A&T, and you know, it's a better fit for a lot of those kids. And
our STEM program is outstanding. I mean, we have a brand new engineering building that is state of the art. So, you know, we get a lot of people that want to be engineers. They come here, and then with this area within North Carolina, you get your engineering degree, you stay right here in the state, and get a great job. I think I saw a stat, 75% of the graduates stay and work in the state of North Carolina after they leave.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't quote me on that stat, but I want to say that's what it is.
It's a high percentage either way.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So you have schools like North Carolina A&T. I mean, obviously they're going to cater to the in-state students, but we get people from out of state as well coming here, and it's transforming the state. It's helping the state.
And so, as far as the programs there, and we know that, you know, you just mentioned STEM, engineering, and everything. What are some of the other top programs there at A&T?
I mean, shoot, all of them. With criminal justice, ecology, you know, biology. I mean, you name it, we have it.
Wow.
You know, the agriculture, we have a farm. Veterinary medicine.
So A&T is the 1890 land grant school in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The second Moral Act.
Right.
So we're land grant, and see a lot of our logos has 18 because it's found in 1891 from that like 1890. So a lot of things we have things tagged 1891.
Okay.
For that. So yeah.
And so do and I gotta ask this because there's a stigma about blacks in agriculture. Do any of your athletes major in agricultural programs?
Right now, no. Right now, no. But I just think I just haven't come across athletes that necessarily want to major in that, but definitely engineering. Yeah.
And like I said, that, you know, we always had a stigma, even to the extent that the federal government was offering monies to minorities who wanted to major in agricultural programs up until recently. And we won't talk politics or anything else like that, but up until recently, that was used to try to draw more minorities. I do personally know some track and field athletes from other institutions who did take advantage of those programs because that helped them go to school for free.
Right.
So
free is not bad.
Right.
Free is not bad. You know, I've only come in all my years of coaching, I've actually only come across a handful of athletes that express an interest in agriculture. So where I was before, there was a guy who did it. I mean, a small percentage. I mean, it's some, and then maybe a few more that were interested in the veterinary side.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
And that's actually a highly rewarding field to go into, that you really don't see as many minorities as needed in that particular field either.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, as long as we have animals, as long as people have pets, you know, you always will have a job.
Right. And I don't see people not having pets anytime soon.
Right. So, you know,
thinking about getting a pet here soon. So we'll be looking at a vet. We'll be looking at a vet bill.
Most indeed, because they are pretty much like another child in the family.
Yes.
Yeah, so you know, they just stay in that. They just stay. Well, I guess they stay in that childhood stage for just about as long as human.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I mean, but you definitely got to have a love for your pets too, in order to, if you're going to do it right.
Right.
So yeah, but yeah, so veterinary science is another field, I guess, that you guys have over there, and something for people to consider.
Right.
Okay. And so, like and T, and you've been, like you said, at other schools, you know, from the Air Force Academy to University of Kentucky, South Carolina, NC State. How does that campus there at A&T compare to those other campuses as far as student life and campus life?
I think that, I guess that's kind of a harder question for me. I mean, I see it, but I see it as an outsider, not somebody that's actually participating in it. But I think they're all comparable. They're different, but the same. You know, they're organizations on campus. You know, I'm not familiar with all the organizations on campus, but the organizations on campus for students to be involved with. You know, having different functions where the student body can just freely come and have fun. You know, almost like a party, festive type atmosphere. And then, of course, you know, here, GHO, greatest homecoming on earth, which I can say is no other school, no other college that I've been around like this one. I mean, just the energy, the reputation is second to none. Experience, second.
Wow.
And I went to school down the street.
All right.
Second to none. Second to none.
Well, we know that in general, the atmosphere at an HBCU is generally quite a bit different than it is at a PWI, uh, especially at football games when you know the total atmosphere, not only with the competitors on the field, but you also have your bands, your
Yeah.
dancers, your cheerleaders, and just to make that a big festive, like you said, atmosphere. Because I've covered quite a few different schools. I've covered PWIs and HBCUs. I'm not mentioning any schools' names, but I know that at some PWIs, I remember specifically one PWI, and I can probably mention it to you off camera, but I remember feeling so sorry for the cheerleaders because they were working their tails off, and the crowd was just
Everybody just sitting there.
yeah, and I'm like, are y'all serious? These cheerleaders are throwing down. They trying to get you guys hyped, and y'all just sitting up there, just humdrum, looking at the game or whatever you're doing up there in the stands. I've said I feel so sorry for those cheerleaders.
You're not going to get that here. I can promise you that. I can promise you that.
Well, and I know.
I think the difference is how it all started. I mean, it started differently. I mean, at PWIs there was a certain way that things were done.
Mhm.
In HBCUs, certain way things were done. I think that you see that in the atmosphere. I mean, if you go around the country, you go further down south in football country, things are done differently than they are, say, up north. So, so with the HBCUs, you have um, the historically black culture in the South, the festive, jovial environment, and you put it all together, you mix it all up, and bam, then here's what you have.
Right.
And it's awesome. It's awesome.
And that's the wild thing about all of this, because when I used to teach back in the early 2000s, well, the early to mid 2000s, I remember having coworkers who were University of Kentucky alumni, and this was at a time when University of Kentucky made a conscious effort to bring in an HBCU for one of the early football games.
Right.
And I was always told, yeah, hey, those are the games we can't miss. We just love it. And I think that was the first time I actually saw people kind of dog their own band. It's like yeah, that such and such school, they kind of killed us out.
Yeah.
And then I also said the same thing, and I will mention this school because Tennessee State is still the only HBCU in the OVC, and I remember going to EKU a few times, and in fact, Kentucky State played at EKU, and that's what some of the fans were telling me. Yeah, we don't come to the games unless Tennessee State is here, or yeah, we're glad that Kentucky State's here, and so we come to the game, and I didn't know. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Things were like that.
Yeah, I mean it's I think that the more that HBCUs are exposed to, I guess, mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
You go and play some PWIs, and then the the audience is broadened. They say, "Oh wow, that's pretty cool."
Mhm.
And it's not just. I mean, unfortunately, this is how it got started. We're not just that school for those people over there, and I think that's how it can be more inclusive,
Mhm.
you know, and more people understand what it is, and not
Right.
just have this thing in mind of what they think it is.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, because I mean, to that point, when FAMU played UNC, uh, that people were talking about that all year. Especially with
Yeah.
the bands, and then the bands came together
Yes.
as one, and people marveled over that. I mean, and evidently, that takes a lot of skill for the band directors to be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
But people talked about that entire game, that entire, everything that happened for an entire year, and I was just amazed by that. But you know, certain things, like you said, certain things like that can help elevate HBCUs. I always, like last year, I think it was a year before last when I was doing this, I always had to mention that Coach Prime, even for the short period of time that he was at Jackson State, he did a lot for HBCUs, just exposure wise.
Yeah. I mean, people started talking about HBCUs more.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it was I think it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was good. I mean, anytime you can get more exposure, that's a good thing. And I think that that's even still continuing.
Mm-hmm.
Even for me growing up, uh, spent a lot of times in the summer in Washington D.C. My grandmother lived right up the street from Howard University. My parents went to Howard University,
Oh.
but um, this is my first HBCU experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I went to PWI.
Mm-hmm.
Being here at A&T is it's a different experience.
Mm-hmm.
Something I'd never experienced before in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I like it. I like it a lot. I love being here, and it's something it's something that more people. I wish more people could experience it.
Right.
I mean, just come check. Maybe there's another place for you that might be better, but come check it out. Come check it out. Come visit. Come take a tour.
Mm-hmm.
See what we're about.
Right. Right. And hopefully, we will get to that point at some
Yeah.
junction where people will give HBCUs a chance. Say we have certain events, I guess, along the way. For me, well, my family, a lot of my family went to HBCUs
Hmm.
from Alabama. When I graduated, the first schools that my dad took me to consider were all HBCUs. And A&M, Alabama A&M, and Miles Stillman. You know, then and I mentioned this I think I mentioned this to Coach Oliver the other day.
Hmm.
After I took the ACTs and SATs, Morehouse and Howard contacted me. They had already accepted me. I hadn't even contacted them or anything.
Yeah.
And so you know, so I kind of had that I had something pushing me towards HBCU. I ended up at PWI's, community college. And I did mention this one of the reasons I ended up at Kentucky State was because the community college I was at then, and this has changed since you were at, before you came to University of Kentucky, but the community colleges, all I think except for maybe one, were under University of Kentucky. The one that wasn't was under Kentucky State University. And so I went to a University of Kentucky community college. When I had to transfer to complete my 4 years, University of Kentucky wouldn't even take a lot of my credits. And so I'm like, I'm not. But Kentucky State did. So I ended up at Kentucky State, and I tell people all the time, my journey there was funny. I was there for 3 years. When I arrived, I was a sophomore. The next year I was a senior because of how my credits fell.
Okay.
And so I had 2 senior years at Kentucky State. And
so what was that like?
Oh, it was great for me because I was an RA and I was a veteran. So and I was in the reserves. So I got, this was 92 to 94. I had so I, as an RA, as a head RA, in fact, I didn't have to pay for room and board. I didn't have to pay for tuition. I'm straight. Then I had the Army College Fund, which was more money than what you would get with just a GI Bill. So I was getting a monthly check for that.
So your pockets were fat.
Oh yeah. And the reserves just kicked it all off.
So you had fat pockets. Look, I'm showing our age. I'm showing what era we came from.
Right. And so it was just great for me at that time. And I had a ball at Kentucky State. And yeah, I do have advanced degrees. And my advanced degrees and graduate certificates are all from PWIs. But I still have never had the experience that I had at Kentucky State. And I'm sure to a certain, I mean, even though A&T is much larger than Kentucky State, the one aspect I always tell people at Kentucky, when I was at Kentucky State, it was a community. It wasn't just a campus; it was a community.
That's A&T. That's A&T.
Okay.
That's the thing. That sense of community. It's like you're at school, but you're in this community, and you can feel it the minute you get here.
And that's valuable. And I'm pretty sure that for a collegiate athlete, that's very valuable. We the general student body knew all the athletes at Kentucky State. We all did everything together, and a lot of them are still my friends to this day. And so just that aspect of the HBCU experience, I was able to develop as a leader. And if you had that aspiration, you would have the opportunity at a school like Kentucky State. And actually, when I used to recruit as an alum for Kentucky State, that was one of the things I used to tell people. You can go to UK or you can go to Western or Louisville. You might just be part of the crowd. But if you want to be a leader, you can go to Kentucky State and you can get into leadership.
Right.
And so, like I said, it's definitely a different, different thing. So, and so, like I said, I'm just happy that HBCUs now are getting waves of people like yourself, accomplished professional athletes to come in and lead programs. Because now we're seeing that influx. And I mean, it was happening before, I'll put the period before Coach Prime.
Yeah.
But I think it became more highlighted after Coach Prime, that, whether they were NFL, NBA, whoever they were. And the funny thing is, you had what's Coach Johnson's first name? Used to play NBA basketball, and actually he graduated from the HBCU. He was real short, and he was an announcer for a while.
I can't think of his first name. For some reason, Vance is coming to my head, but I know Vance Johnson I think he was a receiver in the NFL for the Broncos or something.
Right. But yeah, Coach Johnson, I remember he came back to the HBCU level to coach. He had been a NBA coach. Right. On top of that, a head coach. And so,
I mean, like I said, there's a lot here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, people have this image in their head when they come here. The images is blown away.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they don't realize how. Unfortunately, they don't realize how great it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's another. We could take that all the way someplace else.
Right.
I'll leave it at that.
Well, I know one of the first ones who I knew accomplished track and field athlete to become an HBCU head coach was, and I hope she doesn't get mad for me name dropping her, but was Sharifa Barksdale.
I know Sharifa
because she was at Kentucky State University, and after the coach had to leave, she was the interim head coach for a year.
Okay.
And then she was instrumental in bringing in the person who would become the head coach. And she's also been, just mentioning her, she's been great for the Commonwealth of Kentucky too, because she is the co-founder of that Maximum Velocity Track and Field Academy with Jackie Joyner Kersey.
Yeah.
And I had, for the first 10 years, I have been a part of that. And I have the pictures from the very first one. So,
okay.
But like I said, just having people like yourself and other greats to come to areas like this and other areas around the country, I think it helps elevate your individual sports. But then to have you come coach at HBCUs, that helps elevate HBCUs as a whole too.
Right.
So I definitely appreciate you doing that.
Hey, we're going to keep elevating. Yes,
sir. Yes, sir. So as we prepare to wind down, before I do that, I do have to ask you, because this is a very important topic to me, and hopefully it is to most people. How do you deal with the mental health aspect for your athletes, for your student athletes?
So you broke up right as you said. You said, how do I
deal with the mental health aspect
with the student athletes?
Yes, sir.
Well, we have somebody on campus. We have a professional on campus that helps with the mental health aspects of the student athlete. I think ultimately, everybody can't. The mental health professional can't deal with everything for everybody. I think as a coach, kind of like the first line.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of the trainings that we get, not that we're professionals at it, but
Mhm.
um, we're provided with some tools and some information to kind of better handle today's athletes, and first and foremost to acknowledge that mental health is a thing. Because as you and I both know, when we were college age, the expectation was, I mean, what is mental health? You just, are you tough or are you not?
Mhm.
So it's understanding, different people's backgrounds, the things that get them to go, the things that are now abusive, that were not considered abusive in the past. Things that coaches could say to us that it was inappropriate then, but we didn't have a title for it. We didn't understand like we understand today. So, being the coach, that's the first line, and then also having the professionals, and then the professionals, they can obviously dig a lot deeper and
Mhm.
give the student athletes um, tools to handle whatever situations they may find themselves in.
And that, like I said, that is very important to me, because I unfortunately I am familiar with many cases, with too many cases of student athletes committing suicide.
Yeah,
Just even just one is too many to me.
yeah,
But
exactly.
and then talking to some teammates of some of the ones who did.
Hmm.
You know, one in particular, I remember, and I was on campus when it happened. I just didn't know that the girl had done it.
Hmm.
Um, but I talked to a couple of the guys who were her teammates who she real close with,
Right.
and they told me they were a couple of the last people who she talked to. She was going through a crisis when she called them, and they just, they said they had warned her about some of the things that led to this. And so, they didn't just kind of, they did shut her off. They just, I guess it was a way that it happened. They weren't aggressive or egregious with the way they shut her off, but it was, still the fact that they end up shutting them, and they have to live with that now.
Yeah.
When I talked to them,
Yeah.
they had to live with that, and then one of them actually attempted, and I saw that on Facebook Live.
Yeah. And and I think that's part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
With the mental health aspect, understanding that
Mm-hmm.
you have the person that's going through the crisis, you have the friends, um, support circle, whatever you want to call it. And also getting those people to understand that how they can help,
Mm-hmm.
and that what they're doing is helping, and ultimately it it's it's not their fault,
Right.
you know. So all it's just so many things,
Yeah.
so many things to understanding the psyche, the mental part of this, talking about that, and then also just even the performance anxiety,
Right.
you know. That's probably that's probably the biggest thing that we deal with is, dealing with that part of it, and again, you go back to when we were coming up, it was, hey, you just got to get tough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't be a whatever colorful word you want to put it.
Right.
And that was
Right.
just, that was basic.
Right.
So I'm sure we lost a lot of people along the way
Yeah.
that they came through now. Uh, could have been handled a lot differently, and we would have had some different outcomes.
Right. But thank you for sharing that, Coach. We really appreciate that. And
Hey, no problem.
as I said, as we prepare to wind down, first, closing segment is, can you briefly tell us about some of your mentors, and can you tell us about your staff?
Okay, so I'll start with mentors. I'm gonna have to say Curtis Fry. Um, I was under him a long time. When I was at the University of North Carolina, then he went to the University of South Carolina. So I was there and I got to kind of watch him in action. I say him the biggest. Ralph Lindemann when I was at Air Force Academy. Other than that, I tend to be very quiet and I just sit back and I just observe. So for me, outside of those people, not so much mentors, but just me watching and copying what I see other people do, where they've been successful, and then see how it works for me, and tweaking it a little bit. But as far as my staff, I have Amber Monroe. She's the associate head coach and throws coach. I mean, she was the one person that was a holdover from the previous staff. So when I first got here, she helped me a lot understand just the different processes and how they work here. Because there's every time you change jobs, there's a learning curve. Okay, how do we do things? What's the schedule of events, how it works here? So she helped me with that. Then I have Hormel Prince. He's the middle distance coach. So he handles that, and he does the housing. Then I have Denise Hopkins. She's the jump coach and recruiting coordinator. And Tanner Stramel. So we were training partners. He's a two-time Olympic silver medalist in the 110 hurdles. His expertise is everything from the 400 down. Who am I missing? Oh, and then we have a director of operations, Gabrielle Roberts, and she's the glue to make sure this whole thing stays together. Make sure that all of us coaches, including myself, that we stay on task and turn things in when we're supposed to turn them
in. Which is very important.
Yeah, very, very important. Making sure the itineraries and the team is being moved in an economical and efficient manner from here to the meet and back and getting fed and all that good stuff. So, I mean, it's a great staff to think about. I think we all work well together. Everybody has their role. And for me, I think that was the first time head coach and dealing with staff and figuring out. And because you always say in your mind when you're an assistant, say, "Oh, well, if I ever become a head coach, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I don't know why my boss now he does this thing over here or she does this thing over there, and that makes no sense." And then when you sit in the chair, you're like, "Oh, that's why they did that." So for me, my biggest thing is my staff is trying to find out, for one, what I need them to do, obviously, but I think more importantly is what are they really good at, and let them be good at that thing that they're good at to move this team forward. Okay. Finding that balance with the focus. It's my third, going into my fourth. If you ask me this in 4 more years, I may say something completely different. But at this point, it's about having them do what I need them to do. But at the same time, what are they good at?
Right. Okay.
So that's how we roll.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like a great staff. I'm familiar with a few names that you mentioned. So, it's you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong. So, so the last segment is what we call the shout out segment. So this is when you have an opportunity to shout out everybody you want to shout out.
Yeah, anybody want to shout out? Wow. He caught me off guard. Is anybody?
Any and everybody. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I'd like to give a shout out to my family, the Johnson family up in DC, the DC area. Obviously, shout out to my staff. Shout out to my friends. Kevin Brown, University of South Carolina, Joel Brown, Ohio State, David Oliver at Howard University. Shoot, I give a shout out to Sean Wilborn over at Duke University. Shooting everybody in the CAA. And I guess most importantly, I mean, got to mention the support people here. Shout out to Earl Hilton, the AD. Shout out to Billy Edrickson. Shout out to Sherry Long. Because without those people, none of this happens. So those are my shout outs.
Okay.
Anybody I forgot, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right.
Shout out to my high school coach, Bob Digby.
Oh, yeah. That's always important.
Yeah.
And they actually don't get enough shout outs. And many of them help, some of these coaches who competed the next level to get there.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
So Coach, this has been very enjoyable. We want to thank you for stopping by and having a chat with us. Like I said, we kind of, even though some of the questions are the same, format is a little different because we want to, like you had mentioned a second ago, watching what other people do and then, try to see how it works for you. We do the same thing, Club J-Shade has been very successful.
Yes, very.
Yeah, but I don't drink, I don't give other people drinks. So
you don't have your own, what is it? What does he drink? You don't have your own cognac?
Oh no.
Wine or whatever.
But like I said, we definitely want to thank you for stopping by. We also want to thank our audience. You make all this happen. You make this possible, and you're the reason why we do this. We want to thank you for stopping by and checking out this chat with an HBCU champion, well-deserved champion who won a conference championship, not even at an HBCU conference, but in a predominantly PWI conference. So, we thank you, as an audience for that. We ask that you like, follow, and share this video. And we do hope that you continue to watch us and keep up with us so that you can see our next chat with the HBCU champion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now I'm talking about young shakes. I want to represent Jesse James. And this for my city.
Hey, I do it for my city. I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gone first round. For my city. I ain't never been a jumpin'. If he thinking I'm a jump, watch him get his head up. For my city. I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gone first round. For my city. I ain't never been a jumpin'. If he thinking I'm a jump, watch him get his head up. For my city. Cause I feel like I love her so much, like I owe her so much, but supplying her touch, I will always respect her, I will never neglect her. Bet you hear her naming like every one of my records. No, I'm not stunting. stunting, ain't no future in your frontin', right? Gotta get this money, watch me get it all night. Planet flying top flight, higher than space stations. That's why I gotta grind, cause I need it and I hate waiting.